Hello, everyone. As you can see by the title, today we're going to be talking about imposter syndrome. We're going to talk about what it is and how you can tackle it, and why it's keeping aesthetic and derm NPs from stepping into your full potential and getting the compensation that you deserve based on your intellectual property. If you've ever second guessed your expertise or hesitated to position yourself as a key authority, this episode is for you. It's really for you if you are my new friend on LinkedIn who I met at the conference, and who announced on social media very bravely, I must say, that you want to be an influencer, a dermatology NP influencer, and that you're feeling some imposter syndrome. And so I thought, what a perfect topic to talk about, because we know you're not alone. We'll all go through it. We've all, some of us have gone through it, like myself. And we'll keep going through it as long as we keep showing up every day. And so I'll tell you the exact steps you can take to overcome that self-doubt, confidently step into your expertise, and use that impact and influence to create repeatable revenue streams. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Dr. Kimberly Madison. I'm a doctorally prepared nurse practitioner and founder of Mahogany Dermatology, Nursing Education and Research, where we are on a mission to increase access to dermatology nursing education and research with an emphasis on skin of color, business acumen, and digital fluency. And I have some merch. I forgot to bring it over. I have quite a bit of merch, but I don't have all of it with me at the moment. So this is our new shirt. Now, I did this with custom ink, but it's smeared, right? And shout out to them. I've been a repeatable customer, repeat customer, a lot. And so I know this is not their standard. Things happen. Their customer service was awesome. At the time that you're watching this, I'm doing some batch content. So I'm preparing for the Dermatology conference, but while you're watching this, it's wrapping. Yeah, it's wrapping up. Today's our last day of the conference. So I ordered the sweatshirts for travel. It came to me on Thursday. I emailed them that day to say, hey, look, it's smeared. They called me on Friday and said, hey, when are you flying out? We'll get it to you. So shout out to them. I still recommend them. I'll still keep using them. And everything I get to keep this. I get the new one. The whole thing was free in terms of the exchange and the shipping and all that stuff. So yeah, that kind of customer service you can't beat. So if you're new here, I create these videos every week. I do these batch content days randomly. So if you're subscribed, you'll be notified immediately when I go live. But if not, and you have to watch the replay, they are released at 12:15 a.m. Central Time every Sunday so that my night shifters can be the first to get something and not the last. I know what that feels like. And I have new articles on the Mahogany Dermatology blog every Monday. We just went over 100 articles in the last 2 years. And then we have community, the DMV Dermatology MPPA group, and our sister group, Derm NPs and PAs of Atlanta. We're a networking group for NPs and PAs who practice or aspire to practice in medical, surgical, and cosmetic dermatology in DC, Maryland, Virginia, and Atlanta. I do this with support. We have advisors in Blacksburg, Caleb, Richmond, Virginia, Derek, Allie's out there in Atlanta. And we have our cousin, surgical derm NPs and PAs. Started by Dr. Teresa Talon. She's the founder of Pulse Dermatology, where she does, I can't remember if she has something else right there, but she does, so prior she was doing online workshops for basic and advanced suturing, but she has done in-person workshops at different dermatology conferences. But right now, as we speak, she's planning for her first in-person workshop under her own umbrella in October in Virginia Beach. And so shout out to her. It's just wonderful things are happening. And she's been so supportive since the beginning. She's one of the first members of DMV Dermatology and PPA group. And I just can't thank her enough for her support of the group and of me and her time. She's been very generous with her time and hearing me talk and sharing her experience, which I find invaluable. Really, so many people in dermatology have been like that, just so welcoming, so kind. And so I hope that's been your experience, and I hope to be one of those people who helps you have that. So let's get into it. It's late as I'm filming this. It's late. I went to I saw Kev on stage tonight, and yeah, and I'm doing a million things, getting ready for travel. I always do a million things before I travel, and today was no different. And so I'm checking, going to do some audio check here. Make sure you can see me and hear me. Okay, great. And we don't have any lag. These are some things we're checking, right? Since we do live. And I go live because I like answering your questions. My dream is to have office hours where I'm joined by a group of students, and I just answer your questions. And thankfully, I actually have the opportunity to do that in person right here in Houston in April. So I'll tell you more about that soon once I know more about it. But I'm really excited to be in community. I love being in community. There's someone here, so don't leave me alone. Tell me who you are. Say hi in the comments. We're talking about imposter syndrome. So we're going to jump into it because I need to shower, go to sleep, and get up and go to church. So we always start these videos. We talk about health and wellness. So we have our topic, a main topic. We'll get into that at the top of the video. After the main topic, we'll do our weekly updates where we get into health and wellness and other things going on. But we always start with a prayer or devotional. Because I am of the belief that if you're in the business of taking care of other people, then you have to be in the business of taking care of yourself. I strong believer in that. And so one way is, I think the best way is to demonstrate that is to do it with you. And so we start these videos with a prayer or scripture or devotional. So let's do that. I had one pulled up too, but I guess I changed my mind about the one I wanted. Oh, is this a good one? Mm-hmm. Well, they're all good. Let's say that right there. Oh, this is a good one. Okay, God, help me have a heart of mercy towards those who doubt. Help me create safe spaces for honest conversations, offering support and understanding. And most of all, thank you for staying unchanging, even when I doubt you. I want to be more like you. In Jesus' name, amen. This kind of is in line with imposter syndrome, right? Because, if you do believe in God, then, you have to know that God knows what he's doing. He's the creator of all things. He's made you perfect in his own image and likeness. He does not do anything without purpose and intention. Like you should, he's an example of how we should move in the earth, right? He created you perfect as you are. If you really, truly, honestly believed that, we wouldn't even be talking about imposter syndrome, but we're of the flesh, right? And so we do experience that. I personally experienced that when I got out of NP school. I was in the biggest in the DNP program at GW, George Washington University in Washington, D.C. And I didn't know we were going to graduate in the middle of that program. I didn't have any plans to transition my life. All my colleagues, the other nurses I was working with were going to NP school and graduating while I was in NP school as well. And so I was already hearing about the transition and how much time it was taking to see patients, to document. So they were bringing work home at night and on the weekend. And I was preparing to get into the DNP program, which I didn't know how demanding that was going to be. And I was working full time. I worked full time all through. And so just the idea of working full time, going to school, and being in this doctorate program, not knowing the future, I didn't want to transition without. It sounds very stressful, and I like to reduce stress as much as possible. And I was like, I already have work at home and on the weekend. It's called the DNP program. And so I decided, untraditionally, which is a thread in my life. Sometimes you have to look back and just own what makes you you, right? And I have made so many untraditional decisions, but I own that, right? It takes time. It is a journey, but I own it today, and I think it's been a huge strength. Anyway, so I decided not to go right away. So I struggled in the beginning. Can I call myself a nurse practitioner? So one of the things I did, even before I recognized the imposter syndrome, was I just wanted to be in the community. And so I joined the board of the Nurse Practitioner Association of DC. I was their student rep at the time. And then I started working with DNPs of color. And at no point in time did anyone ever question me. And like, oh no, you have to go see 100 patients first before you can be part of this. That never came up. And I'm bringing that up because even so, you might be experiencing imposter syndrome because you want to put yourself out here and be an influencer or have impact, right? Be a speaker, be an author, whatever, a business owner, whatever it is. And you're thinking, who's going to take me seriously? Well, we'll take you seriously if you take yourself seriously. But the truth is, you don't need anybody's permission. And so, what I love to say, if you've heard me anywhere, let's say this thing for the NP, right? Because if you're a new NP, you're going to go through that imposter syndrome. And what I recognized was I had already been a nurse for over a decade when I started practicing as an NP. So it's like being, prom queen and then going to be a freshman in college. So yes, you're at the next level, but you're at the bottom of the next level. And you have to start, it feels like you're starting over, but really you're not because you have experience, right? You have a life experience, you have clinical experience. Anyway, what I learned really quickly, so if someone asked me to speak, right, based on my decade of experience, I would still go look things up to make sure I'm up to date on whatever the topic is, right? And it dawned on me, like, even at that level, I still would have to look things up. So even at this new level, I felt like, oh, I'm still looking things up, right? That's part of the practice. That's part of the journey. And so I realized, like, it doesn't matter whether you see 5 patients or 5,000 patients, you're still who you are. And so that's why you hear me say, the school gave you a degree, the state gave you a license, the board gave you a certification, and someone gave you a job because you're a nurse practitioner. Like, you already checked all those boxes. So anything else that happens after that, anything title you want to put in front of your name or after it is up to you. The minute you decide you want to do it, it is done. It's done. You say, there's even a guy I follow, he's in like the world of weightlifting. And he's vlogging every day. He's been struggling with vlogging consistently for years. And honestly, they're entrepreneurs. They vlog when it's time to promote a new thing. But this time I noticed he's doing it every day. So 365 days. And so I don't know at what point, but at one of the points, he started saying, I'm a daily vlogger. Now, he hasn't hit the 365 yet. We're still, it's only March. But on day 2, he could say, I'm a daily vlogger because he did it the day before. So all that to say is all this stuff is made up. Whoever you say you are, that's who we're going to believe you are. And so it really starts with you saying, who do I want to be? And then saying, that's who you are. That's who I'm becoming. And every day that you keep showing up for yourself, you are that person. You're that person. Okay, so let's talk about it. So imposter syndrome is this concept that you don't meet some kind of qualification, right? And so how did we get here? Well, and particularly because we're in a field that does require some boxes to be checked because the people in authority have decided that. Those are rules they made up and we all agreed to follow the rules, but they were made up. Okay, they're made up rules. The rule is you got to get a degree, you got to take a test, and you got to have a license. And then if you want to write scripts and all those things, you have to pay someone to do that. Okay, this is the capitalist part of it all, which I like to. I don't know. I'm not going to waste your time with that. I don't think. Should I say anything about? So let's say you have capitalists, right? They're the founding fathers. They're like, well, I'm not going to be doing the work, so we need a labor force. That labor force needs to be skilled. Where are they going to get skills? Oh, let's call it school. And to go to school, you have to pay. So I say, okay, look, well, I have this company. Guess what, friend? You're my friend because you have to keep each other in business. Friends keep each other in business. That's my 2 principles. When it comes to business, you have to invest in the people and then find other businesses who benefit from you being in existence and keep each other in business. So if me and my friends are keeping each other in business, well, I have this hospital, right? But I could hire people and train them on the job. But because my friend has a school that needs to make money, I won't hire people until they go to your school. Oh, okay, great. So people come to my school, they pay for me to go to that school. And every year it's the same professors, it's the same books, it's the same lectures. But we know what? We keep charging more every year. Once you get out, you have to pay for an exam at our other friend. They have the test site. You pay them, you take the exam. Then you go over there where our friends work in the government, and then they'll give you a certification. You have to pay them. And then if you want to keep practicing, you keep paying them to keep that certification and license. And then we'll hire you at the hospital. And once we hire you at this hospital or clinic, guess what? You went to that school to learn how to take care of patients. You got that certification and licensure to take care of patients. Now we've hired you to come take care of the patients, and you paid for all those steps. But guess what? We're actually not going to pay you 100% of the work that you're doing. That's the world we're in, right? So that goes to show you that it's all made up. So in school, you had to check all those boxes. And so what happens, and I love school, I love learning, I love academia, right? But even that, I think, has stifled us because we had to check all these boxes before we could move forward. And when it comes to us being an authority, being an entrepreneur, having impact, I want to tell you, you don't need to check any boxes, but you have to undo that thinking because you're looking for validation. You're looking to get that job. You're looking to practice. How many years do you have to practice before you can say, okay, I can do this thing? Right? One day I was sitting at a table with a nurse who had been a nurse for almost 20 years. Someone else was in the ICU, right? One of the places we put on a pedestal. And then another nurse who was in the DNP program with me. And all of them were expressing doubts that they could do this thing, right? And I was like, if all of you at this table aren't qualified, who would be qualified? Right? We have to ask ourselves that. And so I'm here to tell you, no, you don't need for someone to give you your job because you can create a job, right? You can create opportunities, you can get education, you can pay for training. You don't need to pick somebody's brain. You can open a book, you can take a course, you can do shadowing, you can go to a conference. You don't need any of those things. You don't need validation. You just need to believe and keep showing up. So how did we get here? Society, these things we believe in. And so if that's the environment that you've been in, put yourself in other rooms where they don't believe that, where they don't think like that. And I promise you, over time, you will have a mind shift, right? If you're sitting at a table and all of us have something to eat and you don't have anything to eat, what are we naturally going to do? We're going to feed you. We're going to offer it, but you have to take it, right? And in my experience, people offer things all the time, but because of fear, of doubt, imposter syndrome, anxiety, lack of exposure, lack of support, lack of community, we don't take those things, but they're always being offered to us. We just don't always recognize them. Okay, and so that's imposter syndrome. It's believing that you need to do something before you can do it, believing that someone else needs to validate you, a false belief that you're not qualified, that you're not ready. But I just told you, God made you in his image and likeness, and with that, you are perfect in his eye, but still human, right? So we're still going to make mistakes. We're still going to let people down. All those things are true, but it doesn't take away from who you are, your value, your ability to make impact, have positive impact in the world and other people's lives. So you don't need another certification. You don't need another degree. You don't need another licensure. People start things all the time, businesses establishing their brand, becoming an influencer every single day without any of that. And yes, sometimes we're over here criticizing those people, but guess what? They are out there. They're out there. They're getting those opportunities, whether it's money or relationships or brand deals, partnerships, because they keep showing up. Okay. So, my friend wants to be an influencer. How do you do that? Well, first, you believe in yourself. You recognize that you might be experiencing imposter syndrome. And then you start to unpack where that came from and give affirmations to yourself every day in the mirror. And just being around other people and kind of feedback can be very helpful when people start to respond to you and treat you like that. I know when I started working and they were like, yeah, you're the expert. And I was like, I'm the expert. But it's like, yeah, well, they're looking at me. I'm in the shoes, right? So I need to act like it and just keep doing your education and learning and showing up for yourself every day. And one day you'll look up and be like, yeah, I feel like it today. And give yourself grace because it does take time to get there. So you want to establish yourself, right? Well, attend conference, get in network, get in community. And while you're there, um, have a strategy. I think in the description box, I have the link to my conference strategy. But last week, I gave you a strategy in my last video, talk about how to have a strategy when you attend conference. So if you're trying to be an authority, an influencer, when you go to conference, talk to the people who are in a position to do that. So you do want to be aligned with brands or pharmaceutical companies, talk to the reps, tell them what it is you want to do, what steps you should take, who you should talk to, if they can make any introductions for you, right? That would be a step one. You can just reach out to them and follow them. A lot of companies, they post opportunities all the time on how to partner with them. Sometimes on Instagram, but really LinkedIn is the way to go. They're post things over there all the time on how to learn, work with them. You can see the people. It's not just a company, it's people. And those people have their own individual account. They're just like nurses and nurse practitioners. This is their job, right? And when the job doesn't fit their goals anymore, they're going to go somewhere else. But at the end of the day, they're just a person who wants to put food on their table. So just talk to them just like that. Because who knows, you might have an opportunity for them, and it's really a small world. Maybe they don't have an opportunity at this company at this time, but in a year or 2 years from now, they might be somewhere else, and they'll remember you. They'll remember what you said you wanted to do, and how kind you were, and how interesting, and your vision, and how clear you were about that. And they'll be like, "Hey, I think you might be a good fit for this. Are you still looking to do this?" So that's a tip. And my number one tip, which I've talked about plenty of times, is just show up and be of service. Ask how you can help. Remember, everyone struggles with something. Everyone needs help with something. And if you can lend your time, people will be more than willing to share what they need. I can't remember who I was talking to, but I was saying, like, let's say you say, "Oh, I want to learn Botox," right? Well, everyone wants to learn Botox. Everyone in their email and their voicemail and their DMs. But their day-to-day is being bogged down by tasks that need to be completed and tasks that take up time, and time is money. So if you say, "Oh, hey, I can help you implement AI into your practice to help you do X, Y, and Z," or do A, and you know how to say that really well, right? They'll be like, "Oh, really? Oh my God. The last person we had, they just left. They went on maternity leave, and now I'm really struggling with this area." Or we have someone in place, but man, they have to spend like 5 hours out of the day every day doing this one task. And we've been talking about implementing AI, but we just haven't had the time to do it because they're so busy answering phone and email. And if you can help me, implement this AI that can answer phones and respond to people, answering our frequently asked questions, and it sounds really human, and you gave me a chance to demo it. It's like, wow, I would love to hear more about that. And if you can do that for me, what did you say you wanted to do again? Botox? Oh my God, I'd be so happy to teach you Botox if you can help me run my business more efficiently, take away the decision I have to make, reduce that decision fatigue, and help me meet my goals. Then I can help you meet your goals too. And it's a barter system, right? That barter system worked for many years, and it still works to this day. And then if you want to establish yourself as an expert, when you go to a conference or this community, wherever you're going, say, "This is who I am. I started this video. I'm Dr. Kimberly Madison. I'm the founder of Mahogany Dermatology, Nursing Education and Research." And then everything that I talk about after that is aligned with those words. Every week I come on here, what are you going to hear? The same thing. You go back for 2 years, what are you going to see? The same thing. You go on the blog, you go on the LinkedIn page, you go on this page, what are you going to see? The same thing. The opportunities I get, the invitations I get, they might come to me. They're usually coming to me for the things I'm talking about, to be honest. And then I use that opportunity and I continue to reinforce my messaging, right? Because they might have come to me for X, but I want to make sure you understand my whole platform so that when you go out there and continue to talk about me, you'll know. And so maybe this year you're only focused on this, but next year you guys have a new project in place and you remembered that I was really into digital fluency, and you come back into the email and say, "Hey, look, we're doing this other thing. Do you have any time to hop on a call and talk about it further?" Absolutely, I have time to talk about it further. So don't be afraid to position yourself. And so those opportunities for influence could be through your social media. Certainly, I've talked about key person of influence. Part of that 5-part framework is writing, getting published, because in the word, if you watch enough of these videos, you should be saying this with me. In the word authority is the word author. it's the easiest way to set yourself up, because in order to write, like I just explained, even at over a decade, if someone asked me to speak based on that experience, I would still have to go do some research. I would write a speech, right? In preparing for a speech or an article, that's what my whole journey was, really, which I talked about in that interview with Claudia Garcia when I talked about my journey into derm. To write this paper, to create this presentation, I'm writing it, right? But I go read to find out what's up to date and clearing, getting some clear messaging around what I want to say. In the reading, I'm learning about the market, the trends, the gaps, the other people of influence, right? Maybe I follow them. That's why I ended up going to Boston last year for Elevate Derm, because Dr. Susan Taylor was speaking. I want to meet her, right? I'd already talked to her. She had given me permission to use her article, Hot Comb Alopecia. And it's like, okay, this is the next part of this relationship, right? I want to meet her in person. I want to hear her speak in person. And when she comes off the stage, I'm going to talk to her directly. So that's another thing you can do. So by doing writing, you have to read. And by reading, you become abreast of what's going on. And don't take that for granted, because you think about our life, right? We wake up, we go to work, we come home, we wake up, we go to work, we come home, wake up. That's our friends. That's our clinician friends, right? So anything that doesn't happen in that on that route, we don't know about it, right? Because we don't do social media. Everyone's going to tell you, I'm not on social media. So you're not on social media. You might not be watching the news. All you know is what's happening at your house and what's happening in your clinic. There's a whole world out here. And so just the fact, if you just read something and can explain this exists, that's more than they know. Now, if you can go from this exists and this is how you use it, that's another level of expertise. This exists, this is how you use it, this is how you evaluate it, right? Because if we're implementing things, especially for business, nothing that's can be improved if it's not measured. Being able, statisticians, analysts, those people get paid for a reason, because it takes such a level of evaluation just to understand data. Like, how does this action lead to this outcome? What does that mean for this one thing, but collectively, right? So those are different levels of expertise. If you're a brand new influencer, just being here is enough, right? You keep doing this, keep showing up for yourself every day. You're going to elevate yourself to the next level naturally, because you're going to maintain that spirit of inquiry. In nursing, we want you to have a spirit of inquiry. Evidence-based practice, we always are asking ourselves, why are we doing this thing at this time for this patient, this way, for this length of time? Everything you're learning, you need to know that. So I don't care if someone gives you your first job in dermatology, if they're going to train you on the job. I don't care. You need to ask questions. Why are we doing it this way at this time for this patient, this way for this length of duration? Because if I've been practicing for 10 years, I know what I started off with, right? You're going to become a creature of habit for that thing. Yeah, you're doing your 24, 48 CEs, whatever it is, but likely you're picking the things you already like. And then if you're in your own practice, you can have a habit where you don't elevate your practice. You don't change things because you've been doing them for 10 or 20 years and they work. And just because another article came out about this new thing, you've decided, well, I don't have to follow those rules. So if I'm the one training you and I've decided I'm not going to expand my mind and my practice, then you're learning 20-year-old techniques only, right? Having people from all levels of experience in your network is awesome. That's going to make you be able to provide more comprehensive care, because you're getting more comprehensive exposure, if that makes sense. And yeah, always ask questions, because sometimes people are doing something because someone else showed them how to do it that way. We know this is a fact. If you watch other people train you, they're going to tell you, oh, I just do it this way. As soon as you ask someone, why do you do it that way? They're silent. It happens too much. You need to know what you're doing and why you're doing it. And just being able to explain those things and measure them and evaluate them elevates your expertise. And you might be surprised what other businesses might be interested in that expertise. Just because, you see other people making videos about scrubs or products, and you think, okay, that's what I want to do too. There are other assets that company might be interested in if you have them and know how to communicate them. And then personal branding. So look, you want to be a key authority, you want to be an influencer, and you want to establish a personal brand. And you're going to hear so many different descriptions and definitions of what a brand is versus marketing. So in this case, you're either trying to start it or communicate it, right? So if you're looking to start it, that's okay. If you're attending a conference, for example, just go listen to the topics. You can even just go online to maybe 3 different conferences and look at the agenda and see the topics that they're talking about. Do you see a trend? Any of those pique your interest? Maybe by the end of a conference, virtual or in person, you're like, hey, I'm going to pick something that really piques my interest. Maybe you already have an interest based on patients, based on your personal experience, and you want to start building your brand around that, right? It's not just enough to say you're a Derm NP. What about it, right? Is there a gap you're trying to fill? Is there something, a new way you look at things? What is it you're going to bring to that market? And look at why you haven't already been tapped, right? So when it comes to personal branding and being a key authority in dermatology, you're either in a place where you're communicating your branding, right, in a variety of ways, or you're trying to build it and figure out what that looks like. And a lot of that comes from knowing what's going on right now and how does that align with where your interests are, your passion, what you think you might be interested in. There's so many great things in dermatology that you can align yourself with, that we need assistance, that we need help with. And so, yeah, when you start getting out here and networking with other people, you can say, hey, what are 3 areas that this is who I am, this is what I like, this is what I'm about, this is what I have access to, this is where I want to go. I want to be an influencer, I want to have impact. What are 3 things or 3 areas you think I might be able to make a difference? People will tell you right away, or they'll tell you someone who can help you with that, or they'll give you a resource or a reference. And then monetizing that expertise. So this is that whole repeatable revenue stream, right? There's only so many hours in a day, so many patients you can see at one time. If the goal is to have a wealth strategy, well, how do you get there, right? And more often than not, it's not going to be about you showing up somewhere and working for the money, because wealth is beyond just money, right? But it's about your money working for you, but not just you, even the generations after you. That's real wealth. And then there's a thing called dynastic wealth, which shout out to Dr. Latanya White. That was her PhD thesis, was on dynastic wealth. But it's the idea that whatever you're doing, it needs to live beyond you, your work, your finances, your influence, your impact. And so you need to really identify that. And that will really help you figure out where you're going to go and what kind of impact you can have. It helps if you can reflect on where you've been too, because a lot of what you've already done and what you're doing can probably help align with the brand that you have, because you probably already have an established voice. You just haven't recognized that it's there. So some journaling might be really helpful, therapy, just a meditation, a walk outside, kind of looking back over your life and what you've done, and maybe writing some of those things out, finding some themes in your own journey. That might be a really helpful step for you. Praying, asking God to make it clear, He is not the author of confusion. So that can be super, super helpful. Lots of helpful techniques for you. And then that wealth really has to do with if you're going to do business, right? Have influence, have impact, finding out what you can do, figuring out a strategy on how to do it really well. And then you master that and you keep repeating it. You keep doing it over and over again. And one of those things could be identifying repeatable revenue streams. So if you're going to be an influencer, how can you make that repeatable? Is it through a brand deal? How long is that brand deal going to be? And what kind of work does it take to continue that brand deal? Is it every year you're going to have to sit back at the negotiating table? So those are some things you want to think about. Things that are in your control, like assets, digital things you can sell. We're in the world of the digital age. Certainly you can have a practice, you can have a business, you can do anything you want, but you just want to be able to make sure that it's repeatable and that you can leverage your intellectual property, because no one else can do that. Everyone else can do Botox. Everyone else can do filler, but no one else can communicate your vision or package your intellectual property like you can. And I want to teach you how. I have my upcoming masterclass on You're Already an Expert. Now it's time to learn how to get paid like one. If you're interested in joining that wait list, you can email me directly. And I would love to help you with that. And then lastly, of course, mentorship is going to be huge. If you're attending conference and you just want to have one goal that you want to say, okay, when I go home, I want to say I've done that, is find a mentor. And if you can't find one, ask if your friends can, if someone can help you find one. But you got to know what the qualities you're looking for. I do have a Your Nurse Mentorship Match ebook that can help you with this whole kind of unpacking your past to make it clear what your voice and your vision is and your identity, especially your identity being separate from what it is you do. What you do is not who you are. And that can be really hard to recognize when we spend so much of our life proving that we know what we're doing. Because think about all the years it takes to get into school, to get through school, to graduate, to practice, and then to continue to go back to school, get graduate education, start that transition over again as a provider. So you've dedicated a lot of your life to doing something, and it becomes what you talk about. And because you've talked about it so much, it seems like it's your identity, but it's only what you do. It's something that you could absolutely love and be very passionate about, but it's not who you are, because at any point in time that can end. What you do, your relationships, even, your children. We see this all the time when children go away and parents become empty nesters. Parents, couples look at each other and say, who are you? Who are we? Where are we going? Because so much of the identity of the relationship has been tied up into the doing, the parenting, the working, the marriage. And so when you become a widow, when you become an empty nester, when you become retired, we see this. We see people struggle with this, especially people in high performing jobs, cops. There's a lot of data that after, being at that level of performance and adrenaline, even, that there's like a high rate of suicide after retirement. I think like the first 5 years, because our identity gets so tied up in what it is we do. And so a mentor community can really help you with that. And I wrote that book. It was the first book I wrote. It's to me the most valuable, because it helps you with your identity. Everything we talk about doesn't mean anything if you don't know who you are. And no one else can do that for you. That's work you have to do yourself. And so a lot of times there's tons of mentorship programs. Companies understand the value of that, but they're not utilized. There's an overabundance of mentors, not enough mentees, because there's not a manual until now on how to be a mentee, how to show up for yourself. And as you know, as a preceptor, some people have had amazing preceptors. There's not really training for that, right? We make this assumption that just because you're experiencing something that makes you a good preceptor, that makes you a good professor. That's not true either. Sometimes people fall into positions because they were burnt out somewhere else. So now you're just the burnt out professor, right? But you didn't go through any training or anything. And now you have a student who really needs your guidance. And you haven't really done the work to be able to position yourself really well to give what they need. You just give what you know and what you have, which is different, right? Anyway, so in the book, it helps both mentees and mentors, because even mentors still need help and guidance. And it points out not only identity and your purpose, but that mentorship, mentee relationship, like how to recognize when it should end or when it needs to evolve, and then the needs of the mentee as well. So that is in the Mahogany Dermatology shop, and that is below. Those are ebooks that I have in the Mahogany Dermatology shop, but they won't be ebooks for long. So if you have been eyeing it and you think you might want to copy, now's a good time, because they won't be available for, well, I don't know if I want to say they won't be available for download. We'll see where we see what we do, but there's going to be a change to that shop soon. But yeah, that's imposter syndrome. If this resonated with you, please email me so I can put you on the wait list for the master class. You're already an expert. Learn how Aesthetic and Derm NPs get paid like one. You can email me at hello@mahoganydermatology.com. If you haven't already, this is your chance to subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment. I know we had a visitor. Someone's in the shadows that you didn't say anything. Oh, I want to give you a quick update on my biggest launch ever. We're in week 5. And so since then, I do have some catching up to do, but I've created a funnel. If you don't know what that is, then you definitely need to sign up for the master class. The master class itself, so the slides, the outline, and the workbook that's going to go with that and working on our sales copy and sales page and learning what that means, and landing pages and registration pages, and social media strategy. I spent a good amount of time on that too, and creating the space for you so that you just have these plug and play that are designed specifically for you, for if you're an aesthetic or derm NP, because you have a full life, a full-time job, and you're trying to build your business on this side and live the life that you work so hard for. I understand that struggle. And so I'm creating this space so that we can execute with less decision fatigue, less time, overcome imposter syndrome, overcome fears of social media burnout and privacy, all going to be packaged up for you so that you can live the life you work so hard for, the life we all work so hard for. Yes, and I think I'll save the other updates for later, but we just wrapped the Diversity in Dermatology Conference. You can sign up right now. We have another conference coming up in September called the Collaborative Care Summit. It's going to be at the Grand Bohemian Hotel in Orlando, Florida, September 12th and the 13th. Who's going to be in the room? Dermatology, rheumatology, allergy, immunology, and gastroenterology. This is that multidisciplinary care approach that is needed, desperately needed in all of these areas. Really, in medicine, you're going to see a lot more of that. But how exciting is this? We're going to be able to provide so much better care for our patients, have a much more better understanding of how we can all work together. And so super excited for that. The link for that is below. You can register now. That is being hosted by BCI Management and Communication and Diversity in Dermatology. And I think, my health and wellness updates. Since I'm batch contenting, I don't think I have any other updates for you for my health and wellness. But I do need to do better sleeping, as evidenced by this video. And I started biking. I don't think I mentioned that last video. I was on the fence. I was thinking about going back to the gym, and I was. But I'm also trying to be mindful of my expenses, which I am going to go through with you guys soon. All the expenses that, it takes money to make money. I understand what that means now. And then I just decided, let me just hop on my bike. And so I've been biking almost every day now. I used to bike when I was a traveler. I would always live kind of close enough to bike, walk, or scooter. And with the weather and the biking, my mood has gone up like tenfold. It wasn't really down, but just being out there, I just love being outside. I love being outside. The sun and moving and being active, I just love it. So I've been doing that, and yeah, very happy. And yeah, I think that's for the updates for my health and wellness that I can think of. But yeah, I thank you all for watching. Certainly, if you have questions or anything you can think of in ways that I can help you, or topics you want to see in the future, now that the conference is over, I'm sure the next few videos will be updates about that. And upcoming interviews, have some big news to share with you soon. But I thank you all for watching, especially whoever hung out with me tonight. It's so late. I need to go to sleep. But I will see you next time.